I think one of the things that's interesting is, the church has really become so much like the empire that we just automatically value the people who look right or look culturally right, speak culturally right, have the opportunities and the capital. But Jesus was the opposite of that. Jesus spent pretty much all of his time standing in solidarity with the oppressed. I mean, it's so fun because this summer about 5 friends and I got together every week and studied John's 7 signs. And in every single one of those signs, the people who are given the kind of sneak peek into what Jesus is doing, the deeper understanding of the implications of what Jesus is doing, they're always people who are marginalized in society. Starting in John 2 at the wedding at Cana, it's the servants who get to see Jesus actually perform the miracle. They're the ones who see Jesus' first miracle. And the wedding banquet guy, the guy who was running the wedding, it was all hearsay to him. He was like, wait, what happened? He was the one who didn't know what was really happening. And he had to go get that information from the servants. And so we just see like in all 7 of those signs that are supposed to tell us who Jesus really is, like John marks those signs as like, if you want to know who Christ is, like pay attention to these 7 miracles. Every single time it's Jesus showing the miracle to women, showing it to crippled, showing it to hungry people. I mean, another one is like when Jesus feeds 5,000 and, you think there are 5,000 men there, so probably 20,000 people there, massive, massive, massive crowd of people. Who gets to see the miracle? It's the little boy who he's the one who actually gets to see Jesus multiply the loaves and the fishes. It's not the rich white guy. He doesn't have that kind of access. The only time Jesus was really saying anything to the rich white guys in his culture, he was typically rebuking them. So
Jesus wasn't wearing khakis?
No, Jesus wasn't. I mean, the one thing I do love about Jesus, though, is, in the story of Jairus, who had the sick daughter who's about to die, and Jesus stops to heal the woman who's dying who's got the issue of bleeding. The thing I love about it is like Jesus puts Jairus on hold, heals the woman, draws attention to her, kind of uses his platform to show that this woman's important in their society, which I imagine the healing of her identity was probably even more meaningful than the healing of her issue. But then the good thing about Jesus is he still goes and heals Jairus' daughter, because Jesus loves white guys too. You know what I mean? So it's not that he's against people who are in power, but he has very strong words for people who are in power. And what are you supposed to do with that power? How are you supposed to follow Jesus and abdicating it and leading it to the ground? I mean, Jesus was the most powerful person who walked on the earth, and he used his power in such a way, he redistributed his power in such a way that it led to his death. But it changed the world, and it also led to his resurrection and resurrection for all of us. So there's, when Paul talks about Jesus emptying himself and becoming humble and taking on the life of a slave in Philippians 2, and becoming a man, giving up his privileges as a deity, Paul's talking about how like we need to be just like Jesus. Like that's the example that we need to follow. And it's easy for someone like me to point to like white men, the upper middle class white guy. But a lot of us, probably anybody who's watching this conversation, has some sort of power that they need to give up. And so for me, it's someone who's highly educated. I'm speaking at this conference here. I mean, I think I'm the only Black woman who's speaking at it. But what gives me access?
I think you're the only Black woman here.
Yeah, probably. I haven't seen any. I would have given that woman a hug if I hadn't seen one. Yeah. But what gives me access? Well, I actually am privileged when it comes to education. I have a PhD. People want to read my book. People want to hear me speak. Why? I mean, I live in a neighborhood full of people who never went to high school. Their perspectives on race and division in our society are like 10 times more brilliant than mine. But nobody's inviting them to come speak at their conferences. No one even wants to, if they wrote a blog, first of all, you'd have to have access to a computer and you'd have to have internet and a bunch of other things. So it's something that we all really have to struggle with. Can you be a privileged person in our society who's not standing in solidarity with the oppressed and actually know Jesus? No, you can't. There's nothing to your faith if you're not standing in solidarity with the oppressed, because Jesus is with the oppressed. And you can't truly see Jesus except through the lens of the oppressed. I'm just a communist.